Henry McCullough. How's it going with the career? You got a new album that I just received the other day. Unfinished
Well,
Business.
yeah, and I don't know if you've heard it yet.
I've heard it. It's a good sounding product.
Thank you. Yeah, everything's good, Jason. I haven't really stopped. It's what I do for a living, and I just continue to play and all the rest of it. I'm not so prolific at writing songs, and it depends what I'm doing. If I'm at home, I wouldn't write a lot, but if I'm on a little tour or something, I'd be a bit more inspired than I would be in my back garden, if you know what I mean.
Do you record in like a private studio or is it public studio?
At a public studio, there's a friend of mine about 15 miles from where I am, and it's a real professional. Amberville is the name of it, and so if I have anything to do that has any technical hiccups or anything, I always give him a ring and stuff, and he would accept stuff coming as he did. There's a Paul McCartney celebration album, and they sent me over 3 tracks, and I redid My Love, Live and Let Die, and Big Barn Bed. So anytime I need to go into the studio, I can just, if it's available, of course, as long as there's nobody there, it's not too difficult to get in.
Let's say, since the days of Wings and Paul McCartney, has the studio changed much for you? Like recording an album, is it, more simpler these days?
It has its good points and bad points. The music, I think, is it's more the outcome of the whole thing now than what you can develop in a studio just among. If you're in with fellow musicians and stuff, nowadays, if you make a mistake or anything, you just keep going. And before it was grasped a lot quicker by the musicians, and I think a bit livelier sound than what you might get nowadays. But it depends on how it's recorded initially. You might end up with just a bass and drum track and work with that, etc. But it has changed tremendously. Anyway, Jason, as you know, you can do anything almost with somebody that knows what they're doing. It's just a press of a button nowadays. So it's a lot different, and I never really stood behind the desk or took too much interest in the workings of studios. So I have a little cassette machine I work with,
Mm-hmm.
So it's fairly basic.
So you still, record with, cassette recorder, and you find that still works great, today with the Blackberries and all that technology.
Yeah, I'm not wrapped up in it too much. I know what it's all about, and I have great admiration for anyone that takes it on. I just haven't. I never took too much interest outside of the playing end of it. Anybody that was producing it or involved in the engineering end of it, I would have always let them get on with it, And so it has changed quite a bit, of course, but it doesn't deter me from charging on.
Now, Henry, how's your guitar collection? Did you save any of the vintage gear, let's say from the early days? Do you still have a big collection?
I don't have a big collection, but I have my gold top that I used with Joe, and I used it with McCartney as well, Joe Cocker and stuff. I still have that gold top, and I have an SG Junior here that I got in America in 1967, 68. Denny Lane used to use it. You might have seen a couple of clips of him, and he would have had the lend of it for stage, but it was my guitar. So I have that one, and I have a couple of acoustics, a couple of other electrics, and that's a mandolin, and
Mm-hmm.
I've got an auto harp and stuff. It depends how the mood hits you as to which one you want to lift.
And with this Unfinished Business CD, do you have any gigs lined up anytime soon to promote this album?
Well, yeah, I'm off to Norway. Well, I'm going now to do the Beatles thing in Chicago for 3 days. from the 3rd of August to the 10th of August, I'll be in Chicago. So I'll be doing a little bit of selling or whatever it is you do at these things, because I've only ever done one Beatles sort of thing before. But yeah, we're off to America on the 3rd, and then we go down the west of Ireland, and then we go to Scotland, and then I go to Norway, and I was to have gone to Japan last week of November, first week of December, but I've put that back until a later date, you know. But I'll be going to Poland as well. It depends really what's on the cards. There's no any promotion would be just be gigs really, you know, and a few interviews and what have you.
Should be a good feeling to still accomplish a product today and, you know, go and play this music out to the people.
Well, it's great, you know. Sometimes what you get in the studio might not work on stage in a live situation. But for me, it's always great to go off and play music, regardless of where it is, you know. I don't do an awful lot of gigs, but I do about three little tours a year, taking in France. Well, we're booked for France now in April of next year, but that's just gigs, and any gigs that I do over there, that's the promotion. You know, I would carry the CD around with me, you know, but I can get it on local radio and stuff, but I just leave all that to put that to the side, because after a short period, everybody either has it or doesn't want it, you know.
Here's a good one for you, Henry. When's the last time you've signed the Red Rose Speedway Wings album, like an autograph?
I think probably 1972.
Really?
1972, maybe 73. Yeah. But I haven't. I might have signed. Did the Liverpool thing about 12, 15 years ago, and I may have signed one or two there. I can't really remember. It's just too long ago. But it's been a long time anyway. Just, you know.
Do you still keep in touch with Paul McCartney at all?
Yes, I do. He was playing in Dublin before Christmas, and I got in touch with Danny Sywell, the drummer, and I really wanted to go and say hello, because we hadn't. We'd sort of sent small letters to each other and stuff, and anything I did, I would send it off to him just as a gesture, like, here's what I'm trying to do now.
Right.
And all the rest of it. But I went to see him in Dublin. The gig was spectacular, you know. 2 guitars, bass, drums, and keyboards, you know. And the whole band were fantastic, but it was mostly Beatles stuff he was doing from all the different CDs, and it was just a miraculous night. And me and my partner Josie, we had invitation to go backstage and stuff, and we had a little bit of a sort of just small talk really for about 40 minutes, and then he says, "Listen, Henry, the guitar player's going to be playing the solo in My Love," and I said, "That's no problem, you know, nothing to do with me." He says, "Well, are you okay with it?" And I said, "Yeah." And he says, "Well, okay." So he found out my seat number, and when he got onto the piano and was talking about not just the past and stuff, and he says to me, "Would you mind waving at me?" And I said, "No." And during the introduction to My Love, he sort of just stopped there, and he says, "There's a man in the audience." And he was very, very loving and very generous with his words and stuff. And so there was huge spotlights landed on our seats, you know. That was my cue. I was up and waving and cheering and thumbs up and all the rest of it. So it was really nice to sort of see him again. The time spent with Wings and with Paul, there was a huge bonding period, and that didn't. It was just because there was so much involved at that early part of Wings. We had committed ourselves, and we took it on, like as it was like being in a bubble, and with that particular, with music and friendship developed from it, and just because there's a little hiccup along the way, it doesn't take away from what you built up and stuff. So I think he was as glad to see me as what I was to see him, and it was only really to give him a hug and just wish him all the best, because he's a beautiful man, a lovely man, and of course, a great musician, and but that's just the way it fell. I haven't. I sent him a little letter just to thank him for the time in Dublin and what have you. So, and we've sort of. I got invitations to different things and all the rest of it. So, not a lot, but I do sort of keep in touch. That line is still open. I don't think it ever closed anyway.
And that's awfully nice of Paul McCartney to, greet that way. And, I'm sure he's super busy, that guy.
Yeah, of course he is. And like, I was quite amazed because the concert started at 8:15 in the evening. And at 8:05, he was still talking to me. And I said to him, I said, listen, you better get your suit on or whatever it is you're going to wear. You've got 20 minutes. And he had done 22 number sound check in the afternoon as well, and he came on and played for 3.5 hours in Dublin's Fair City. It was spectacular, But of course, having grown up with the Beatles and everything else, and to hear even one of them coming out, and it was a thrilling thing to see, and I was honoured to be there as well,
Staying on the Beatles subject, have you known any other Beatles members in the past?
Well, George Harrison, I sort of had met a few times, and but on Ringo I met. I never did get to meet John Lennon, but my first CD was on, or my first LP rather, was on Dark Horse, which was George Harrison's record label.
Right.
And so after I went to America with a singer called Frankie Miller, but I had this album in the can, and it just so happened that he happened to like it, and we had dinner and talked about it, and that was it. And so it was fantastic. There was great large billboards on Sunset Strip and everything else. But then he had that problem with the publishing of Do Lang, or whatever. He's So Fine, the chiffons. And he had My Sweet Lord, which is near enough an exact replica of He's So Fine. And consequently, when the court case came up, he lost the court case. And what it took him to pay back, I guess, the amount of royalties that he would have built up from My Sweet Lord had to be given back to the chiffons. And that was the money that, part of it was the money that he had laid aside, so to speak, for Dark Horse Records. And so I only got the one go at it, and then the company sort of folded. So, nice man too. And I was delighted as well to be in, for him to give me a ring and ask me would I be interested. He had heard the stuff anyway, and there was one particular track he really liked and spoke about it. And so, not every day you get George Harrison knocking on your door. So, but I met Ringo, but only in sort of at a gig or something, or in the pub, but not a lot. I wouldn't know him well enough to go for a cup of tea with him, if you know what I mean.
So Henry, what's lined up in the future for you in music?
Well, I have, like I say, I go off to play different places. You know, everything continues. Like everything's just the same as it's always been. You know, if you're going off to a foreign country, etc., you know, there's great fun in going to these places, not only for the music, but for the sights and sounds of a different culture, you know. But I don't spend anything like the time spent on the road in America when, you know, with Joe and the Grease Band, it was like 9 months of the year. You were touring 5 nights a week. That was 68, now 69. But we were all a bit younger then. But these days, 2 weeks, I did 6 weeks in France, and that was fantastic. But the weather helps there too, you know. So I just continue to do what I've always done, Jason. You know, like I say, I have gigs in Ireland, and then Scotland and France in April, and Poland and Norway's in the last week of August, 1st of September. Poland would be the end of October. And like I say, I cancelled the Japanese trip. But I had been there before 2 years ago and had great fun, and it was my first time there. And that, I mean, it was a fantastic experience going to Japan, and you know. And the people there asked us if we would like to go Western or go Japanese. Mm-hmm. And of course we went Japanese, but my poor knees now. I was up and down sitting on the floor with me dinner, and I'd never really used chopsticks before, so it was all very funny and good fun. But I did miss a comfortable bed.
Yeah.
Because they would have given you sort of like an inch mattress or something, or a couple of I don't know what you would call them, but that, you know, you take all that in your stride as well, because it's a learning thing, you know, and never to be shy about it, because these people knew that we wouldn't have been too experienced with chopsticks, etc., etc. But all the places we stayed in, apart from one Western type hotel in Kyoto, the rest of it was done in Japanese traditional hotels. It was absolutely stunning, you know. And 2.5 weeks, and I came back, and it's been a long time since I felt that healthy. You know, we were at the baths all the time, and fantastic people, you know. But for obvious reasons and some personal, I didn't want to take it on again, and maybe next year. But I like I say, I don't. Anything that comes in, I would have a look at it, and if it's going to suit, you know, either myself or the band, well then, you know, always open for offers. You know, it's the only way I know how to make any money, to be honest with you.
Well, Henry, you've been a brilliant interview and inspiration for us all.
Well, thanks very much, Jason. It's very nice of you, and nice to talk to you. If there's anything that you want to speak about that you might remember that you haven't spoken about, sure, just give me a call.
You have a good one, and have a great week.
Good. Thank you, Jason. All the best. Bye now.